Nebawanibun Jude, former high school teacher, and you're welcome to Learning with Richie. On this channel, we talk about immigration issues such as how to look for employment opportunities abroad, and we empower you to be able to do these applications by yourself. Before I take you into the process of how to do an application, I would like us to first of all understand, like, before you want to do an application, there are certain things that you need to consider. You first of all you have to understand the different intakes, or like when the different sessions that we have in school here in Canada. So basically there are 3 sessions. You have the September session, which is usually the fall session, and this session takes the highest number of students. We also have the winter session, which starts in January, and it takes a fewer number of students. And we have the last session, which is the summer session, which runs from May, and this one takes the least number of students. And most at times you have these 3 different start dates in university programs, but for community colleges, most of them will have just one intake, which is September intake or the fall intake. So after understanding the various intakes, let's go straight away into what is the process, like what does it entail for you to be able to do this application. There are 4 stages that we'll go through, and the first stage involves you doing your own personal research. So if you want to make an application to a school in Canada, you don't just get up one morning and you go online or just start doing certain things. You have to plan. What you want to do to be able to do it. So the first step is doing your research. And what does you have to know which program you're going in for, because like the colleges and universities here offer different programs. So you first of all you need to decide which program am I going in for. What do I want to study? You know, when you decide on the program that you want to study, like you might consider some of the programs. The program choice will be determined by the current job opportunities in the market. So you need to like look at what are those fields or occupations that require a lot of people this time around, and are those fields that pay huge sums of money. So you might be like, that might be one of the factors that might just drive you to make a particular choice, or you might have a passion for something and you want to go out for that thing. So it just depends on you. So when you decide on the choice of a program you want to do, the next thing you want to do is like you have to consider is what are your plans after you finish your studies in Canada. Do you just want to come to Canada and pay those huge sums of money to finish a program and you go back to Cameroon or you go back to the country where you come from? Or do you want to finish that program and you possibly get a work permit, so you can work here and then you become a permanent resident and eventually a Canadian citizen? So depending on what your options are, I will advise you to kind of like, I know we come from like, we struggle to get here, and you probably not just want to come here and pay the huge sum of money and then you finish to go back to look for maybe job out there. So most at time you want to look for a program that can enable you to get postgraduate work permit after you've completed the program, so you can work here and become a permanent resident and eventually a citizen. So if that is the motive, what you have in mind in studying in Canada or in any other part of North America, so you want to consider the college where you're going, because there are some programs. The first thing you need to look at, is this college a designated learning institution? Because like a designated learning institution is an institution which is recognized, or it has been licensed by the government to operate. So you have some designated learning institutions are privately owned institutions and others are public owned institutions. So now it doesn't end at the level of you looking whether the institution is a designated learning institution, because there are some designated learning institutions that do not provide postgraduate work permit. It doesn't allow you to be able to work in Canada after you have completed your program. So you want to go online and look for, like, you Google the list of the, designated learning institutions and list of institutions that offer postgraduate work permit. And when you find the name of the institution which offers a postgraduate work permit, that's the institution you'll be applying for, such that when you're done with the program, you can apply for a postgraduate work permit depending on the length of the program. If you do a program which is 8 months to 1 year, they will give you 1 year postgraduate work permit. If you do a program which is 2 years, that's 1 year to 2 years, they will give you 2 years. And a program which is above 2 years, they will give you 3 years post-graduation work permit, which means you'll be allowed to stay in Canada for like that duration to work after you are done with your program. And you should also understand, like, most of the time, for you to be able to apply for some of those permanent resident programs, it requires you to have at least maybe a year of work experience in Canada. So this gives you a good opportunity, like, to take that chance that is there. After finishing your studies, you work and then you get a permanent resident. Now, the next item under the research step is to also consider, where do you want to study? Do you want to study in an urban province, like a very big city, or you want to go to a small city? The choice will depend on maybe your preference, because there are some people who would like to study in those big cities. Other people want to go to places that are a little quiet and, smaller communities. I know with the bigger cities, you are able to, like, maybe you are exposed to that Canadian city life, as opposed to maybe when you study in a small community, where you just get used to, like, a small place, and you're able to know everybody in your community. You're able to also, like, sometimes you want to consider whether you want to work while studying and stuff like that, and also what will be the cost of living in the area where you intend to study. Another issue that you have to consider will be, what are the program requirements. So before you make an application, you also need to go, after you have decided on the program to study, you need to look at what are the requirements. What is basically the requirement for somebody to enroll into a college in Canada or enroll into a university. There will be some requirements that are general, like maybe you need to have English language and stuff like that. And then there will be some requirements that are specific for particular programs. So you need to go through those, like, you need to understand what the general conditions are and see that you satisfy those conditions. The next thing you also want to do will be, like, what is the program cost? Because the cost of tuition and other things will influence your decision if that program is something that you are able to go for or not. So you want to check the cost. Maybe you can always go online on all the websites. They'll always have information on tuition and cost of living. So you need to check that. You might want to go to, there are some places that are really cheap. Like, if you come to, I think Atlantic Canada offers one of the cheapest opportunities in terms of tuition, as opposed to you going to the West and other bigger places that the tuition there is very high. So you might also want to consider cost of tuition. And then the next thing that you also want to do at the level of your research phase is to know what will be, like, what is the source of what is the source of your fund? How are you going to finance your studies in Canada? Do you have family members who are willing to pay the money for you? Are you going to come to Canada to be able to, like, maybe to work while studying so you can support yourself? Do you have savings that you've accumulated for the past period and you want to use that to finance your program? Or are you getting a scholarship and stuff like that? So those are some of the decisions that you have to go through. You have to answer those questions to be able to proceed with your application to Canada. So one thing I will just to highlight here before we move to the next step is, if you're coming to a college, it is very difficult for you to work while you're in college, because the program in college is, like, most of the time it's 5 days a week, and it's from 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. And by the time you're done, you get so tired with the assignments that they're giving every time. You spend the night working on those assignments. So you cannot say you come here, maybe you go to school during the day and work at night, unless you'll be willing to work only during summer, like this, when it's summer, when you guys are out of school. But if it's a university program, some of them are very flexible, and they give you, like, for undergraduate studies, they give you the possibility of working 20 hours a week, and for postgraduate studies, they give you a possibility of working 10 hours per week. So you want to evaluate, like, where do you fall, and, like, if you are working 20 hours a week, how much can that give you to, like, how far can that go to cover the cost of living or tuition that you'll be incurring here? So those are some of the things that you need to consider. Moving forward, we'll be looking at the second step.